Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Knockdown Sports Radio. My name is Chris Calica, and always joined by my partner in crime, Mr. Cody Teague. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? I'm excited for this show. A lot of sketchy topics, a lot of fun stuff going on. And we have a very, very dear friend close to our hearts with us today that I'm excited to have on the pod, man.
Absolutely, man. And we'll get to our special guest in a moment, but I want to remind everybody where they can find us on the social media sphere and how to download the podcast and everything like that. So you can find us on Twitter at knockdown_media. That's knockdown_media. And if you're watching us live, give us a thumbs up on the YouTube video. Even if you're watching after the fact, hit the little bell notification that lets you know when we're live, so you can join us each and every Wednesday night that we're on. And that may end up changing. We'll see. But Cody, I want you to do me a favor, man. I'm gonna list off some podcast mediums. I want you to count these for me, okay?
Let's do it, man.
All right. So you got iTunes,
1,
Google Play,
2,
Stitcher,
3,
TuneIn,
4,
and iHeartMedia. So in total, what's that give us?
That is 5, which means, people, we need 5 stars in all 5 places. Go like, thumbs up, stars, comment, do everything you can to try to make us famous and put some dollars in our pocket.
Well, I don't know if YouTube's going to let us do that, but they're stingy. They're stingy, man. They're stingy.
Like
especially with topics like we may be covering today. They may go ahead and ban us whether we cuss or not. But that's cool. That's cool. But also wanted to let some people in on a little personal information of mine. JD, you know this as well as Cody. I am changing jobs.
Woo.
So schedule-wise for the family and the podcast, that is a bit of a blessing, we'll call it.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. And you jumped the gun a little bit, JD. That's okay.
We got to see JD's
face. So now they got to see JD's face. And he looks like the consummate golf professional that he is in his Titleist hat right now. But yeah, so I'm changing jobs, so a little personal news on my end. So maybe a little extra podcast work in the future, guys. So excited about that. But Cody, why don't you introduce us to our special guest, my friend?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, our special guest today, all the way live from Salisbury, North Carolina, we have JD Lamm. He is a golf pro, golf coach, and he is here to help us talk a little bit about our first topic once we get to going. JD was he's one of my best friends. He was one of my old roommates, had one of the best chairs ever made in life that he sponsored for us. JD, man, are you excited to be here? Because we're excited to have you.
Hey, guys, I really appreciate you having me on here. It's an honor. I really appreciate you giving me a little bit of a chance to talk about this sport that basically my life revolves around. So hopefully we can get into some good topics and have a good time.
Well, that's why you're here, man, and because you are the, like I said, quote unquote golf pro, even though I think your title is technically golf pro. But that's it. And of course, we're going to talk about the Open. It's what's on everybody's minds. It's what we're ready to do. And
there we go, guys. Sorry, my connection's a little laggy right now. I'll be right back. So, Cody, if you want to lead right into the first topic, man, go right ahead.
Got it. All right, JD. So our first topic, as you already know, is the Open. And whether you know it or not, this is the best rating for the Open Championship since 2006, regardless of the network that it was on. It's the next best since Tiger completed a Grand Slam in 2000. So as I've already alluded to, I think we both know why this golf tournament did so well, and I believe it's because of LT Ray.
Yeah, 2 words, Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
The fact is, when Tiger's involved, golf attracts a fan base that we never see throughout the rest of the year. It's not just golfers watching. It is people who enjoy watching athletes. And you grew up in an era where Tiger was dominant, right? So anybody from our generation, when Tiger's involved, we're probably going to watch. He brings so much more to the golfing world than what anybody really understands. Obviously you've read out some stats there. When he's playing, people watch. Okay. Whether you're a fan of Tiger or not, because of the things that have happened to him in his life off the golf course, there's no denying that he is good for the game of golf. Okay. You can't deny that even if you're not a fan of him. And there are plenty of people like that, and I do respect their opinions, but I mean, he's good for the game, and I'm really, really happy to see him back. Anybody who's kind of a Tiger hater out there who claims that he's not back yet, I think that this past week kind of should open some eyes. He's back. I mean, he's ready to not only just compete, he's ready to win.
I agree. And at 42 years old, I mean, he's done things that, like we just said, he hasn't done for a decade due to all the off-course problems. And don't get me wrong, I forget which hole it is. It was on the back nine. I want to say it was maybe 12 or 13 when he was hitting out of the bunker and drove it to the bunker, and he whipped the club back around. I thought he was hurt again. I mean, that was my worst fear. I was like, Tiger is hurt on the back nine in contention to win the Open.
I thought that shot was awesome. That was my favorite shot of the golf tournament. I mean, he's able to produce speed in his golf swing that he hasn't been able to produce in 10 years. Okay. Not since, I mean, longer than that, maybe even, because when he beat Rocco, he didn't have everything at that point in that US Open. I really think his body is able to produce a golf swing similar to what he was able to do back in 2000 when he was just so dominant.
Yeah, and I guess my thing is, and it's the big conversation. Of course, we know Tiger puts butts in seats. Let's make no doubt about it. The game of golf is making buku bucks when Tiger Woods shows up. Talk about our local tournament down the road, the Wyndham. When he came to that, I mean, you're talking about attendance almost doubled because Tiger Woods was on the ballot. He was there. He wasn't in contention towards the end. I still think he had a top 15 finish. But I guess my next question, leading away from the Open before we get back into the Open, JD, does he have another major in him?
Yeah, based on what I saw this past week, I really think he does. I think he has at least one or two in him. I mean, you got to remember that a year ago, Tiger didn't think that he'd ever be able to play golf again. And I'm not talking be able to play competitive major golf. I'm talking play any golf whatsoever. He didn't think he could
even walk. He couldn't even walk.
And we're only a year away from that point in his life, maybe not even. And he, for a while, towards the middle of the fourth round of the Open, he was leading the golf tournament. I mean, he's back, and he obviously has the ability to not only compete but to win. Now, the type of major that he wins will depend on the golf course. Like this past week, where he was able to pretty much leave the driver in the bag, that's the kind of course where he's going to succeed. That's the course where he's going to win.
Yeah, he loves links golf. He's made that known a whole lot throughout his career.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he can hit that Stinger 1 iron, that Stinger 2 iron, 280, 290, 300 up the fairway, and that's how he wins. His weakness has always been off the tee with the driver, right? Yeah. So as soon as you take that weakness out of play, all of a sudden he's going to at least be in contention on the last day almost every time. He's the best that our generation has seen. And when you take his weakness out of the golf bag, he's going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, and it's crazy. You're right, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, he has two of those ones in there. One's a steel shaft and another one's a carbon fiber staff. And it all depends on whether he needs to hit it straight or put a little hook or a fade on it to see where he needs to put it. But you're right. You put the driver in the bag, he's a totally different person.
Yeah, I mean, TaylorMade built him a new prototype 1 or 2 iron that he was using this past week. And, I mean, he kills it. And I mean, a course like that, especially the way that Carnoustie played this past week, so hard and firm, where the ball's just going to roll 50 yards every time. I mean, all he's got to do is hit a 3-iron off the tee every time.
Yeah.
And if Tiger Woods keeps the ball in play off the tee, he can win the golf tournament.
Yeah. And I guess going back to the Open, I mean, you're right. In terms of the conditions of the course, I don't remember the last, 5-6 years seeing a course that scorched for the Open. That's something we expect to see for the U.S. Open. Like when Pinehurst, they didn't water the courses for 5 days because they wanted to speed it up.
I'm not sure that our generation of golfers has ever seen anything like what they experienced last week. We've gotten fairly close over the past few years, especially in U.S. Opens, to something like that. But I mean, even the tour players were saying that they've never seen anything this firm in their life before. It made watching the golf tournament interesting. You saw quite a few 400+ yard drives, and you don't see that every week. So it was fun to watch.
Absolutely. And let's go back to it, because we had the winner, Molinari. I mean, he had, it was some crazy number, like the last 37, 38 holes of par or better, which is, again, as I think you would agree, unheard of at the Open. And he was the most, and players on the tour are calling him the best player on tour right now because he's so consistent. So, I mean, tell me about Molinari, man.
Well, the number one stat that stands out to me more than anything else, he only had 1 3-putt the entire week.
Wow. Okay.
That is incredible, especially in a major championship. Now, granted, the greens weren't rolling as fast as we normally see in a major, but it's still a major. So to only have 1 3-putt for the entire week, that's incredible. The second stat that stands out more than anything else is he only hit 26 of 60 fairways for the week. And I mean, especially at a British Open where if you miss the fairway, you're in 3-foot high fescue. So if you hit less than 50% of the fairways and you still win, man, that shows your ability to just grind it out. I mean, stay mentally in the game and your ability to get up and down from everywhere. I mean, his performance was incredible. And another incredible thing on top of that is it wasn't just 1 week. He finished tied for second the week before at the John Deere. I mean, it was 2 incredible weeks of golf, and right now he probably is the most consistent player on any of the tours right now.
Yeah, and I agree. Molinari, I mean, and the thing is like he attributed it to a new sports psychiatrist that he had been seeing in terms of keeping him calm, which is great. But I mean, first off, you're playing with Tiger, which means you got the biggest group with you going down every single fairway and green. So all eyes are on you. Every shot Tiger takes, they see you take. So, I mean, and it was, I mean, he showed no fear. I mean, he go and hit a putt. I think watching the final round, I think I only saw him celebrate 2 putts, one on the front 9 and then the final hole. I mean, the dude was laser focused, and I'm happy for him because that was his first major, and the first major for Italy, and God knows how long. I forget how long it was, but it was definitely a fun tournament to watch. And did you get a chance to watch any of Kevin Kisner by chance?
I did watch quite a bit of Kevin Kisner. Every time I look at him, all I really see is that dip in the side of his mouth. So he's fun to watch. I enjoy it. But I mean,
he's got to cut back with us.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? Only 10-15 minutes later, but little technical difficulties. So apologies.
Well, we're letting JD talk about Kevin Kisner and how I know you was talking about having the dip in his mouth and all that stuff, JD. But my thing is, if he hadn't have crapped a brick on the front 9, that's your Open champion. I mean, he couldn't hit a 5-foot putt to save his life.
No, I mean, Kisner is one of the most solid ball strikers on tour. He hits this nice little baby draw every single time. You very rarely see him ever hit a cut. He is a drawer of the ball, and he sticks to that shot 9 out of 10 times. He's very, very consistent. He's got a nice compact swing. It's easy to repeat. I mean, his whole game just basically sets up again for consistency, and he's another name that we've seen up on top, near the top of the leaderboard very often here in the past year. Again, another Carolina boy. I know he's from south of the border, but he's kind of homegrown there. So
yeah, and I guess my thing, just to round out the rest of the top or the rest of the second place finishers before I go on to my next favorite story about the Open. You had Justin Rose, Schauffele, and Rory McIlroy. Schauffele, this was only his second Open, and he almost won it despite a few bogeys. And then McIlroy, who eagled 14 to get him back into contention. I mean, Rory had a hell of a run too. So
the leaderboard was stacked. I mean, it was unbelievable the amount of big names you saw in this tournament near the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, but I guess in terms of what we have going on, JD, I know Schauffele, he's pretty good overseas. He's not. I mean, he's been okay over here. Justin Rose is a well-known name, and so is Roy. But Roy has so many more mental issues as well going on. What do you think Roy's chances are of winning the major anytime soon, just because he can't get out of his own head?
Well, I've said this for a long time about Rory. Rory has a golf swing that is very reliant on timing. Okay?
Yeah.
So when Rory's timing in his golf swing is on, he's going to be almost unbeatable. Okay?
Yeah.
But when his timing is off in that golf swing, the whole world's going to beat him. So it's really just reliant on his timing. Everybody can see it. They may not realize what they're seeing, but Rory kind of has a big change of direction on his downswing. You see him kind of take it a little bit straight down the line or slightly outside going back, and then he kind of drops the club and down on the inside coming down. That transition, again, is completely reliant on the timing of his golf swing, meaning basically the big muscles in coordination with the little muscles. Okay. So if he is timing out his golf swing right, he absolutely can win the PGA this year. I mean, he has the ability to do it.
Let me ask this, because and then after I ask you this question, we're going on again to my favorite topic of the Open. I mean, you're not meant to be jacked and play golf. Roy's jacked. So is Tiger. And, you hear mixed reviews on whether should you lift weights, should you do this, should you do that. Go ahead and give us the pro opinion, man. What should you do?
Well, the opinion on this is completely changed from our generation to the previous generation. I mean, even when I was growing up learning to play golf, working out was a little taboo. It was all about don't get too buff, don't get too muscular, because it's going to limit your flexibility and your range of motion. The more we see now, we see more athletes now. And these athletes are basically proving that old school idea wrong. Okay. So the general rule for me is you can get as big and as buff as you want, as long as you can maintain your flexibility. Okay. When you're getting so big where you start to lose that flexibility, then we have a problem. Okay. But with all the trainers that these guys have, I mean, these guys are not losing their flexibility. Okay. They have professionals with them every day making sure that they don't. So to be honest, I really think that golf needs to turn into a sport where we see athletes on TVs and we consider them athletes. We don't consider them golfers. Okay. So, I mean, I have no problem, and I am completely for being in shape. And I wouldn't say the word jacked, but just being built like an athlete. Okay. The golf swing is all about repeating the same move over and over again to get to a square position at impact. Okay. And we only do that by being able to control our body control our body. So if we don't have a fit body that allows us to control our golf swing, we're in trouble. So I think it's only good for the game. And like I said, get as big as you want, lift however you want, as long as you don't get hurt and you maintain your flexibility, go for it.
Johnny Miller be darned. Hire this man, television companies, for God's sake.
I'm telling you, man. JD, man, he's going to end up on the Golf Channel before this is over with. Hey, well, all right, let's go to my favorite part of the Open. Okay, my favorite part of the Open. Let me get his name right. Because he is my story, and he is what I'm pumped to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, his name was Eddie Pepperell. Okay, Eddie Pepperell. He had such a crappy third round that he said, I didn't have a chance in the final round. I'm going to go get drunk with my friends, and then I only finished 3 shots back of the claret jug. And in his interview, they said, you did so well. What happened? He's like, I have no idea. I was hungover. So
y'all have never done that before. Never.
I mean, again, I'm not a golfer. I ain't going to say I've not done other things hungover. But
tennis match?
Maybe. Yes, I'll be honest with that. I don't care. But the thing is like, and I quote, I won't lie, I had too much to drink last night, and I was so frustrated yesterday that today was really, I wouldn't say a write-off, but I didn't feel that I was in the tournament. Whether I shot 69 or 73, it wouldn't have been heartbreaking. But as it happens, I shot a 67. So it's a funny game. Golf is a funny game. Golf is the game to where you want to kill yourself 1 minute, and then you are praising Jesus the next. So my thing is, guys, is that this guy's probably going to get a lot of slack because he said the things he said about being hungover, probably not in Scotland because, I don't know, everyone gets drunk in Europe. But my thing is we got Pepperell who's out here getting wasted, killing the golf tournament. So I don't know, a few things. Was it good for him to say? And are we going to allow beer on the course for the players to play when they're doing the pro stuff? I mean, because John Daly has proved that it can happen. So, my boys, did Pepperell do the right thing by saying he was hungover, first of all?
Chris, you want to go first with your opinion, and then I'll kind of back up?
Well, see, here's the thing, is I think we have a new sponsor for 2H Brewing on the golf touring circuit.
Yeah.
So I think we have your first title sponsor there, and his name's Mr. Pepperell.
Oh,
now,
wow.
should he have admitted that to the masses? Maybe not. He could have just called it a stroke of luck or something like that. But it also made him, I think, relatable to quote-unquote
me?
Us.
Yeah.
The guys who go out there for shots and giggles, we'll say. And, you know, that Cody, you and I have worked at a golf course before, and we've cleaned out golf carts that have more cans in the cart than there are holes on a golf course. So, I mean, it's part of the recreational side of the game. So, I mean, you know, a little bit of a little different life decision than, of course, I would make. But am I going to necessarily hate on it? No. So, so now for the analytical part, JD, do you think that's helped you, hurt you, maybe from possible past experience?
Well, I don't know about that. We can talk about that off pod, baby. But we'll start this with I do not condone this behavior. But to be honest, guys, you and I both know that golf is the one sport where if you've played golf your whole life, you've been surrounded by alcohol. Okay. It's just, it's part of the game, whether it be a good thing or a bad thing. That's a personal opinion. As far as him kind of saying that in the news conference, again, that's up to every individual. I'm kind of for everyone just being themselves. Okay. And if this is the type of golfer you want to be, the happy-go-lucky guy that just kind of jokes around, I'm for it. I mean, golf's kind of boring enough, so it's good to see a little bit of humor in golf again. As far as, like Cody said, the analytical side, golf, as everyone knows, is probably more of a mental game than any other sport out there. 80 to 90% of it is between your ears. Okay. So especially playing in a major championship, you can put a lot of pressure on yourself. Okay. And pressure, more often than not, is never good in golf. Okay. So when you're a little hungover, like Eddie was, there is a good chance that the mental side of things was maybe taken care of because maybe he was focusing more on standing upright rather than being nervous on the first tee. Again, I don't condone this because, to be honest, at the end of the day, more often than not, you're going to play better when you're not hungover. But there is kind of a theory where if you take the mental side out of it and you're more concerned about not puking in the bush next to the tee box, you'll do okay.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah. When you finish 3 off, declare a jug. He was at 5 under. Molinari was 8 under. When you're 3 off, declare a jug. I mean, no offense, I'm going to be hungover every round. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but
is that changing much at all? Honestly,
I mean, I've played 1 round in 6 years, so it's whatever.
Okay,
but
that's fair.
That's my thing. But I'm glad we got to talk about that. I've been wanting to talk about that hungover guy since the tournament started, and I'm glad JD was able to join us. But JD,
but let me interrupt real quick.
Yeah,
This wasn't the first time this has happened. Y'all may not remember this, but when Darren Clark won the Open, I forget what year it was, but it wasn't that long ago, maybe 10 years or so ago.
Yeah.
He, in his interview on the 18th green, definitely talked about how he may have been a little overserved the night before and out maybe a little too late in very perfect Darren Clark fashion. I mean, and he commented about, hey, maybe this helped the nerves a little bit. But you do see this every now and then. Like I said before, alcohol, whether it's good or bad, is up to each individual. But it is a part of the sport of golf, whether it should or shouldn't be.
Well, let me ask this, JD, before we let you go. And you've been a fantastic guest on the golf side of things. We're going to have you more often when big tournaments come on because you make me and Chris look dumb. But
it's not hard, man. It's not hard.
It's not. But let me ask this to both of you before we let JD go and continue on. Is golf the only sport where this is acceptable to say? Yes or no?
Oh, probably. I mean, I can't really. I mean, maybe bowling. I mean,
Weber, baby.
Yeah, that's probably about it. I don't really see it being okay if a post-game interview with Tom Brady, he reveals that he might have been overserved the night before. So, golf and bowling. There you go.
There you go. Golf and bowling.
I think that may be the only two. I'm sitting here racking my brain, guys, trying to find a sport that would be conducive to that condition, and I don't have another one. So
competitive fishing, maybe. Like, that's it.
Yeah, but those are some athletic dudes these days.
I mean, I put curling up there, but you're on ice, so that's a little sketchy to me too.
I don't see that going over well with me. No, that's a broken nose on the ice just waiting to happen.
You're right. Well, JD, last chance, man. You can stick around for the rest of the fun, or you can get out of here, whichever one you want to do.
Oh, I think I'm going to head out. Unfortunately, golf's really the only topic where I'm even a little bit relevant. So I appreciate y'all having me on the podcast. I really do. It was a lot of fun, and hopefully we can do this again sometime.
We will definitely do it again, JD. Thank you so much for joining us. We will definitely let you know the low numbers that we get on this show. That way you can feel good about yourself like me and Chris do.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys. See
Thanks,
you.
JD.
Thanks, man. Take care, bud.
Bye.
So, Cody.
Yeah.
My connection is terrible tonight. We'll call it that.
Yeah.
So I apologize, guys. So hopefully I'm halfway hearable at this point, and if I'm not, then maybe we'll do part 2 of this particular program maybe next week or something like that. But
well, the thing is, you're crystal clear. You just need to talk a little louder.
Okay.
And we're gonna be good. You know what? This is what the people want to see. They want to see real life stuff. They want to see us. They want to see JD trying to close out his phone.
Hit the red button, homeboy. Red button.
And then we go from there. There he goes. But
all right. So can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good. I turned my video off. I'm right next to the phone. You should have no problem hearing me.
That is a sexy picture, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Again, let's thank JD for coming on. He was fantastic. Like, oh my God.
So from what I heard, that was some pretty astute analysis. Like, I thought we were just going to shoot the crap, kind of like we usually do. And no. He went Peter Osterhouse on us and broke it down from top to bottom.
Yeah, he was.
I'm like, networks, hire this guy right now.
No lie, like, oh my God, he was fun to have on. I can't wait to talk to him after the show. But I mean, Chris, you're back on with us. We're showing the people how we make, as Austin would say, chicken salad out of chicken. Yeah, and we're going from here. But let's move on to some pop topics.
Oh, that was a good one.
I know it was. And something that has definitely been weighing on you. Weighs on me too, because me and my wife have talked about it. It doesn't make much sense, especially where the media might have screwed over somebody else during the coverage. Let's go back to Wimbledon, man. Let's talk about Serena. She had a fantastic tournament. She lost, but somehow no one's going to remember who won because she lost.
That is exactly right, Cody. So, as we talked about on the podcast before Wimbledon, Serena, I think, was in the quarterfinals at the time, and we didn't really see, see any big names on the list that could potentially topple her.
Right.
And one that snuck by me was Angelique Kerber, who had won, I believe, an Australian Open in her past, and, is a major champion. So I didn't take into account that, yes, while Serena was on the comeback trail, so to speak, that there were a couple of good names left. So most of you may not know the name Angelique Kerber, and especially attribute her as a Grand Slam champion, but she won Wimbledon. But you may not know that because all of the television outlets, all of the media outlets on Twitter, they already had in their queue on their posting site all this lovely mom power stuff.
Yep.
90, I would say, and take me off of my pedestal if you want to. I would say as much as 90% of the coverage was about Serena overcoming motherhood, which is weird in the way that I just said that anyway, but that's the way they made it sound. And to become a Grand Slam finalist. But also, if you twist the headline, like if you saw any headlines that had Kerber's name in it, it also said Williams loses to Kerber, not Kerber defeats Williams. Like the phraseology, the terminology, the way you wrote those headlines, to me was disrespectful, but also, being budding journalists ourselves, understand the point of a hot click, right? Of the clickbait. And if you just put Kerber's name in the headline, you're going to get a fourth or less of the clicks and those advertising dollars. So, like, I understand it from both sides. I just wanted to get your perspective on the media coverage of Wimbledon in general, which I thought was tremendous because they were much more socially active this time around. But also the Williams loss and Kerber win.
Yeah. Well, face it, on this side of the country, unfortunately, unless it's Sharapova or anybody that's American, we're not going to get the women's Wimbledon coverage that we want. I hate to say it like that. That's just the way it goes. That's your names. Kerber, who's an outstanding player. We all know that. She beat Serena fairly well, if you ask me. But I'm sorry, but there's other women in other sports and in life, like your wife, who, I'm sorry, that's what happens. She still lost. We're praising her for doing something that women all around the world already do. Yep. I hate to be like that, but you're taking away Kerber's spotlight for birth, which I agree. She came back. I mean, she won the Australian while she was pregnant and came back and finished second in Wimbledon a few months later. I understand that. But my thing is that, yes, Serena, the GOAT of women's tennis, we can admit that by now.
Sure.
Should not overshine somebody who won Wimbledon, the championship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. Did Serena do something amazing? Absolutely, she did. Okay? She did. But I forget who it was. And I wish I could remember the name, and I'm not going to look it up. But there's already been another woman who had a baby and won Wimbledon. It's happened. But we're focused on Serena.
That one actually...
It might not be Wimbledon, but she's at least won an Open after she had a child. I forget the name. I wish I remembered it because I'm really heated about this. But my thing is like, should Serena have been penalized with her ranking due to having a child? No, absolutely not. That should never happen in any sport.
And here, let me give you some examples of that, Cody. Before she went away on maternity leave, she was pretty much number one in the world. Okay. Fast forward a few months later, her child was born in September of 2017. The rankings I have only go back to January of 18, but let's just call it at the beginning of the year, she was number 22. And then when the rankings reset, depending on your activity in March, she came back at number 491 on March 19th's rankings. 491. A person who was number one less than a year prior is now number 500 in the world.
Right.
And that's due to the sole fact that she decided to grow a human and have a human and take care of a human. And that, as you said, I believe is blatantly unfair.
Yes, BS, man.
Are there ways around it? I don't know, because you have, let's look at the flip side, okay?
All right.
So pregnancy is not an injury. Let's make that completely clear.
It's a very well thought out decision on what you're going to do with life. And if you decide to bring another human in here, then God bless you. Like I've told you many a times, because I couldn't handle it. Seeing you and Salida handle it. I mean, I see that. But go ahead, continue when you talk, because
all right, so she's 491, and then
which is BS.
Right. And then she makes her return in, I believe it's May. And then her May 28th ranking, so her end-of-month ranking in May was 451. Then she started playing more tournaments. She got up to 181. And then right as she went into Wimbledon, she was 28. And after she finished runner-up at Wimbledon, she is 27th. So with that said, that shows you what one major final can do for you. And that's pretty much how the cookie crumbles, man. It's like you can make it up in 2 tournaments, especially when you're somebody of her stature, when you come back and just mutilate the field. But for somebody that got pregnant when she was 150th in the world and got sent to 750th, is then sent back to like the satellite tours, the local sort of the quote unquote minor leagues of tennis,
working regionals in every country. It's ridiculous.
Square one.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be like that, man. I mean, it shouldn't, but unfortunately, it is, and I don't know if it's a stupid society that we live in, but the ITF needs to figure that out. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
Right, and the weird thing is too is I was sort of getting there before I let you know about the rankings. Say a wide receiver breaks his leg. Okay. That is a debilitating injury that he may or may not come back the same condition from. He's very subject to being cut from that team and that contract that he had. I mean, there are some legal ramifications for cutting guys due to injury, but you can also be on the physically unable to perform list in just about any sport and lose your career. So it's not pregnancy. God knows us as guys would not want to go through that because we couldn't handle it. We're babies when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, it's a mentality, I think, that the media already had their stories ready. They knew who was going to get the clicks, but it was an amazing journey that is well deserved of the coverage that she got. Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
It's a few and far between type of thing, but I just kind of felt bad for Angelique Kerber there for a bit.
Yeah.
Actually holding up the trophy and nobody really recognizing it.
No one cared. But
so,
I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's weird because, and I want to read up on this story later. I retweeted something earlier today that I believe it's a Dallas Mavericks assistant coach who is 44 years old and female, just became pregnant. And the organization is letting her work from home and sort of reshuffling what her role is as an assistant coach until she has her child and can be back on the road on a full-time basis as an assistant, which I think is an amazing pat on the back to the Dallas Mavericks organization and how people should be treated as women in a male-dominated sport.
I'm going to one-up you and talk about, I think it's labeled as the Prime Minister maybe of New Zealand, who got pregnant while she was office, which is the highest power to ever become pregnant in office in, like, I don't know, the freaking world or something like that. And they're letting her do her job while being a mom. I'm sorry. Women get screwed. Women get screwed in sports, whether they're wanting to interview, whether they're wanting to play at Augusta, whether they're wanting to just keep their ranking for doing something that they want to do and build a family. People want families. I got 2 puppies. That's all I need. But that's besides the point. But I mean, I think this is going to be a topic, Chris, when we end it today and we get this podcast going, 3 or 4 years down the road and we're number 1 on iTunes. I think we'll be talking about this again, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a relevant topic in a myriad of sports throughout the ages and in the future, as not necessarily feminism and woman power, but just equality in general comes to surface, and we keep working on ourselves as people and as a society and everything like that. But in a final little golf note to sort of put a bow on this, you mentioned women playing in the Masters. Brittany Lincecum actually played in the secondary PGA level event where the guys who didn't make the British Open were playing here in the United States, and she shot a few shots over par, played from the back tees with the guys, finished a couple of places out of last. But for Brittany Lincecum, who is a top-rated women's golfer, my hat is off to you, ma'am. And it was great to have the tour accept her in doing that. Good. It brought her the WPGA, or excuse me, LPGA. The LPGA some much-needed publicity and positive outlook. Because just like the WNBA or what have you, the women's sports, for whatever reason, do not get as much coverage. So I thought that was kudos to the tournament and to Brittany Lincecum.
Yeah, the only women's sport that gets coverage is women's soccer, and that's only internationally. You don't know of the North Carolina Courage. You don't know of anybody else.
They're the best team in the United States right now, by the way.
Hey, thank you, my boy, for knowing that. But, I mean, that's the thing. That's the only thing that people follow, unfortunately, in America, in terms of watching it on TV, is the USA women's national team, because we know we're going to win. Because if you know you're going to win, then you're going to watch. Thank you, America.
Yep, and certain tennis players, certain golfers, it's just very, very picky and choosy. Yeah. Either you have the personality or you have a certain look.
You caused this, America. You caused this. This is all our fault.
Speaking of America, Cody, I would like to direct your attention to one Larry Fedora, head coach of football at the University of North Carolina. I'm not going to call them my Tar Heels because it's the football team, and we're not a football school, and you're about to see why.
You act like it. He acts like it.
So, all right. So here's what he did, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
He was at the ACC kickoff, the media days for the season opener for college football, and there's a ton of microphones set up in these coaches' faces. There are some interesting questions asked, and a lot of times you have reporters who, on purpose, try to get certain answers out of certain people. And a reporter asked Mr. Larry Fedora about sort of the state of football, CTE, things like that. Cody, I've got a couple of quotes for you, man.
I'm ready, dude. I've been waiting for this. Wait, real quick, preface. Yeah. I told Chris to save this. That way I can genuinely react to what's about to be said.
Okay. So you'll like this first one. This first one has to do with good old nationalism and not so much the national pastime, I guess you could say.
Okay.
He says, quote, "Our game is under attack. I fear that the game will be pushed so far from what we know it is now that we won't recognize it in 10 years. And if it does, our country will go down too." So basically what he's saying, as football goes, America goes. What say you?
What say I, Larry Fedora, is that's not true. Because with everything that's going on in the NFL, football might be the first sport to die. So, I mean, I absolutely disagree with what he's saying. The thing is I'm going to take one of my favorite players since I'm a Steelers fan, Troy Polamalu. Okay, my thing is that in high school we were taught to tackle with our head up. Helmet hits the back of the shoulder pads. Nothing goes anywhere. You're not forcing pressure down on your spine.
Mm-hmm.
What does every single safety do when they tackle?
Lead with the
crown. So my thing is I'm sorry, CTE is a real thing.
Wait. We haven't got there yet.
Well, I'm just saying, but if you teach your kids how to tackle and how to play the game, we'll have a future. But
it's this, like, you can put a parallel between football form, tackling form in the same breath as a jump shot in basketball. It's a basic, but nobody knows how to do it anymore because they want the highlight. They want the highlight of, and that's the reason ESPN canceled their segment. I don't even know what it was called. It was basically showing the biggest hits of the week. And they canceled that segment due to the concerns of this kind of stuff. But, I mean, you can make that parallel. Nobody teaches the basics anymore. No. And my God, you're talking about you learned it in high school. God bless you. Your high school football team was lucky to win 2 games every year.
Ho. I won 3, homie. But no, you're right. That's the thing. Like, you learn the fundamentals. Yeah, are the fundamentals going to get you wins? No. But is the fundamentals going to keep you from dying? Yes. Like, that's what it comes down to. And you're sitting here, you're leading head first, crown first up here. You hit somebody. Chris, you're running at me head first, no offense, and you put your crown down at my stomach. I'm sorry, I'm breaking you in half.
Please do, because I would be an idiot for doing that.
But that's my thing, though. You don't want Troy Polamalu running head first at Ezekiel Elliott's thigh. Okay?
Oh, God, no.
Exactly. That's my thing. I mean, you got to think. Ezekiel Elliott puts his head down, or Troy Polamalu puts his head down, and up against Ezekiel Elliott's thigh, if they would have played against each other, because Zeke's a beast. I think we can all agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Troy Polamalu never plays another game in the NFL.
Nope.
I mean, that's how bad it is.
But so just sort of retract a minute a little bit and talk about how the parallel he made between football and America, because he actually followed that up with this. He said he talked to an unnamed, now I say unnamed because he didn't name him, a 3-star military general, okay? So you have a guy who is highly decorated in the military world. And he asked this general, why is America the best military in the world? And he says that general answered by saying, because we're the only country that plays football. So now
you want me to react to that?
No, it's so hideous that I actually want you to. Because like
I don't even know what to say.
Are our generals that inept? Now, if you really wanted to dig deep, right? That a lot of these military guys may have been good high school athletes who were recruited into the military that may not have had that college option. Okay. So that's a possibility. So is his statement completely false? I would say no. But does it directly correlate to the extent that they're trying to play it off?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Here's the thing, and football, both soccer and American football, are the only two sports being politicized right now on a major level. Because you had the World Cup that just came up recently, Croatia and all their stuff, Russia hosting it, Russia being a bunch of douches, things like that. And then you got American football to where this is the only sport that our president cares about to try to screw things up. And my thing is like, yeah, you know what? We all know how I feel about the national anthem right now. It shouldn't be played at sporting events. And if it wasn't, none of this would be a conversation. So I go back to that. Take the national anthem out of sporting events. Everyone's happy. My politics is out of sports, which is what I want. I don't give a crap about who Trump's pulling for, whether he wants them to kneel or not. I don't give a crap about anything else. I want you to do well for your community, like your Panthers do, and a lot of other people do. And I want to see the game. I don't care about anything else. And I stand by that. But when it comes to that, if it keeps going down the road it is, and everyone who's on the right side, who unfortunately, let's be real, more right watches football than the left, I will stand by that. Football will die.
You watch more football than me.
Well, I'm weird, man. I'm weird. I watch every sport. I mean, I was watching K&N NASCAR before this. So that's my thing. It all depends on how it's going to work. I mean, if you kneel on the West Coast, it's more accepted than the East Coast. You'll agree with that.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's my
thing.
thing.
Sad part, it's on a national scale no matter what. But yes,
it shouldn't be on a national scale.
Right, but if you're regionally speaking, you're 100% correct.
Yeah, so you take a knee at a USC game. Everything's fine. Everyone's going to cheer you. You take a knee at a Chapel Hill game, and they're going to burn down Kenan Stadium. So that's the thing we live on, and Larry Fedora is playing that. I don't know what the hell he's trying to do. There's no way this is going to be good for him. You got to.
Oh God, no! He's on the hot seat now anyway because he brings in top 30 recruiting classes every year and can't get past 7
and craps a brick every year. He's awful. I can't.
Not only did he do this, Cody. He made. So he has 2 feet, so he stuck both of them in his mouth. So here's the next one.
Yeah,
quote, I don't think it's been proven that the game of football causes CTE. We don't really know that. Are there chances for concussions? Of course. There are collisions. But the game is safer now than it's ever been. End quote.
Well, let me elaborate on that. Is the game safer now in terms of the equipment? Absolutely. We can agree on that, correct?
Yes, because you have even things like Luke Kuechly wears because he's had concussion scares. He puts basically almost like a Bluetooth necklace around his neck that measures impact. And like they're studying him for potential future concussions because of his past issues. And he's a very forward-thinking young man as well. But so you have this new technology and you have the new shoulder pads and the helmets that are a little bit more sort of memory foamized, I guess you could say. But is it a little safer than it was? Yes. Has it?
No, I disagree. It's a whole lot safer.
Okay, right. But you have to also think about the fact that the things that the guys were wearing 30 years ago playing football as compared to now, the athleticism of the players have also changed in the same fold.
But again, going back to what I said, the technique, the fundamentals of the game, any game, as you said, you just compared basketball. Basketball, we all know what's supposed to happen. It doesn't happen. Baseball, you don't want to be a Craig Biggio out here getting singles and doubles all the time. No, you want to hit the long ball. Okay, that's the problem. Anything after you and I wants to be an all-star when you can't have everyone being an all-star. The world needs more Craig Biggios. The world needs more Steve Nashes. I mean, the world needs more old-school football players, because if not, you're just going to keep getting hurt. No one's going to be able to play the game. Every sport's going to suffer. The NBA already sucks to me, because you have to have a three-point shooter, no big men, and everything's off the dribble. No, you don't run set pieces anymore. And then you have football, who people don't know how to protect themselves because they never had to, because they're either the shining star on their team, or you don't know how to tackle and you just break everything. So
that's actually a really, really good point you just made, because if you look at pro athletes, they were the best at what they did growing up.
Yeah.
They thought they were above other things, or even the basics, because their athletic prowess overtook everything else. They didn't have to try hard. They didn't have to be the best at what they did technique-wise, because they could overpower everything else. So I think that's actually a very valid statement you just made.
Yeah, and that's my thing. I mean, let's be real. I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. Football, as of right now, American football, with how political it is, to me would be one of the first sports to die. Basketball would follow, and then baseball would be after that, because everyone still considers baseball America's pastime. Okay.
Do they?
But that's the title it has on it. That's the title it has on it.
But if you look at ratings, networks would vehemently disagree.
Well, you have to think, when you talk about ratings from football to baseball, baseball's on 7 days a week. Football is on 3. Well,
1, 2, 3, about 4 now, really.
Well, 4 when it gets to the playoffs, when they start playing on Saturday, and then they take away Monday during the playoffs. So it's 3, homie. Chill.
Okay.
College
football.
I wasn't counting college. I'm counting the pros right now.
All right.
Because there ain't nothing better than a mid-major football game. I stand by that.
The Wednesday night Maction.
Maction, baby. So, but that's my thing. Like, let's end it here. CTE is real. Okay, people have committed suicide. People have went crazy, and people are still struggling with life today because it's a real thing. Because they didn't know what it was. Because they didn't know how to protect themselves. Now that we know how to protect ourselves, we don't do it because we want to be an all-star. That's my argument.
That's it. And on a completely unrelated note, Larry Fedora, head coach of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, who almost also happens to be the most famous traumatic head injury research center in the freaking country.
Yeah.
Like, they are the most forward-thinking hospital and college when it comes to this topic. And then he says this. That's not a good look. The chancellor tried to cover for him to an extent.
Should have never done it. You fire him when he says something like that.
I think that might be a little too quick of a reaction, because it's an opinion and not necessarily a violation. So I think firing, unless it's just due to difference of philosophy, is a little much. Should he get an absolute slap on the wrist as far as working with media? Absolutely. Now, Larry Fedora, if you've never heard him talk, he makes me sound like I'm from New York. The dude was a coach at, I believe it was Southern Mississippi for several years. He's a good old Southern boy with those Southern morals, ethics, values. Probably not a big science guy, but does it surprise me that he said some of this? No. but should he know better, being a veteran coach in a high-profile place? Absolutely. So I'll be interested to see how many games get so out of hand this year at North Carolina that all they talk about is Larry Fedora's idiocy, because that's always going to be on ESPN stat sheet when it comes to their points for hosting a North Carolina game this year.
Yeah. Well, my thing is, Chapel Hill is going through a lot of crap right now, okay?
Yeah.
With athletics and academics.
The football players actually just got in trouble. I don't know if you saw this one.
No.
They got in trouble, a handful of them. I don't think they were any high-profile starters, but they were selling their game-used or college-issued equipment for profit.
Oh, wait. We can't talk about that's next show. Next show.
Ooh. Okay. So we'll revisit the players making money, huh? Even though it was school property, yeah.
Yeah, we'll revisit it.
Okay.
I got opinions.
So, guys, I'll talk with Cody about this later. But we may actually be doing a two-parter this week, or we may come back next week. We shall see how. Actually, no, we're definitely not coming back next week because I'm on vacation. But we may see what we can put together, because we got a couple more topics we would love to get to, but just don't have the time to tonight. But I want to remind everybody where they can find us on social media, and that is Knockdown _ media. That is Knockdown _ media on the Twitter. And you can also find us on several places that podcasts are sold for free 99. Please download, please share, retweet, whatever you can do. We appreciate JD Lamm being on the show tonight, providing the big golf analyst type of point of view tonight.
Man,
I thought he was tremendous. I wish I could have heard more of it. I look forward to actually listening to it. And again, I apologize for the technical issues tonight. Hopefully I will get that solved before we go live again. But Cody, remind the people where they can follow you on Twitter for your personal ramblings.
You can follow me at CRTEAGUE008, CRT008 on the Twitter. I still need to hop on the knockdown thing more, but when I get to watching sports, I'm focused, man. I'll just put the phone down.
Yeah, man. I mean, hop on there, be as clever or as non-clever as you choose to be. I was talking about the other night that I see these big sports outlets that have millions, okay, maybe not millions, thousands of followers who can't write a complete sentence to save their life, and I'm over here not having a social media job. So hopefully, with my new schedule, one of us can either make it big on the podcast deal. Yeah. But also might get to dabble in the wrestling Twitter again, the old wrestling Twitter. We shall see.
That's all you, man. I tried.
Hey, for those inquiries, contact Sean Ross Sapp. That's just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh,
hey
man.
Guys, again, thank you for hanging out with us. I know we overstayed a little bit tonight, but as always, we thank you for listening. Download, share, subscribe, do what you got to do. Follow us on the old Twitter. And we will see you next time. For Cody Teague, my name is Chris Callicutt, and we'll see you next time on Knockdown Sports Radio.